So, welcome to another edition of the Membership World podcast. And I'm delighted to be having two of my very good friends and vetted partners with me today. And that is Dennis and Daniel from Membership Bespoke. Lovely to see you guys.
Hi, Gordon. Nice to see you.
Hi, Gordon.
Nice to see you, Daniel. We're going to talk all about, the job market in the association sector more than anything else. And you guys got a huge amount of experience with that. We're going to talk about some of the trends that are affecting the world of association jobs. And of course, you've also done this salary survey as well. So we'll touch on some of those points. But Dennis, do you want to just give us a little bit of background on Membership Bespoke?
Yeah, no problem at all. I'll give you a quick history. We're in our 14th year. Daniel and I started the company way back then. We used to work together in a company that did recruitment to recruitment. And one day we were in the office and there was a call from the REC, which is the Recruitment Employment Confederation. And they put two and two together and kind of got five in a sense, because they thought, because the company did a lot of recruitment consultants, they'd know a lot about the recruitment industry, which they did, but they didn't know what membership was, and nor did we. Somebody held their hand up in the office and they said, I've got the RSC on the phone, but I don't have a clue what they're on about. Would anyone like to take the call? And I was always looking for something a bit different. I was doing that for 3 or 4 years, and every day was becoming a bit samey. So I was fascinated. So I was on Google whilst talking to the REC on the phone like that, trying to figure out what a trade association was, and learn as I was talking to them what a trade association was. But by the end of that call, I've got to admit, Gordon, I was absolutely fascinated and just hooked by it. Just the concept. I had never come across it. I can't say that I did, and definitely didn't know what a professional body was at that time. Didn't know about Royal Societies and all the sort of barristers' chambers and things that we work with now. But we pitched the idea of starting a division within that company that would focus on membership, which is now what Membership Bespoke is, to our then boss. And he basically chastised us and told us to get out of his office with just wasting his time. Really? He said membership was boring. Nobody wanted to work for it in a membership organization because they're not for profit and because they don't pay well enough. And that we would it was pipe dreams, and could we both just get on with our day job? And we thought on the way back to the lift, we looked at each other and we said, well, we're going to prove him wrong here. Like, he's got this way wrong. This is a massive opportunity, because there wasn't other membership focused recruitment companies. And it's a bit like the holy grail in recruitment, is to spot a niche which is untapped. And we'd spotted that, and I could see really what the opportunity was going to be. So we took us some time, but we set the company up, and it was just a lifestyle business for like the first at least 8 years, where Daniel and I were learning about membership and becoming the sort of thought leaders that we now are, and developing our skills before we hired staff. It was a very nice lifestyle, but we were reluctant to hire people. I think managing people and the sort of stresses of being a bigger employer was something that kind of scared us a bit. But then the pandemic happened, and we had 2 years of kind of working almost sort of part-time, really. We had reserves in the business, so we survived. We didn't have to put anyone on furlough, so I'm glad we didn't start the scaling before the pandemic. And then, of course, we got bounce back loans and stuff from the government, which we did actually use. So Rishi Sunak, if you ever hear this, it did actually work. The bounce back loan did bounce back. I think we're probably the only people that can actually say that. And then we started to hire and started to do temporary and interim, and we scaled very quickly. So from the end of the pandemic to beginning of last year, we'd actually 10 times the turnover and gone from 2 to 18 staff. So wow. The scale up was very, very rapid, but there was a big learning curve before then. So it looks like we're a new business to some people because we rebranded. Well, it wasn't really a rebrand, it was a brand refresh, but we hit the ground running straight after the pandemic. So we knew there'd be a bounce back, and then we just rode that wave really to where we are now. The team has slimmed down a bit we tried an exec search arm, which we we organised it wrongly, really, and we're looking at it slightly differently now and going on a contingent approach as opposed to retained business, which is now extremely successful because a lot of smaller associations don't want to pay big retainers, larger search firms. So we've kind of found our lane there. We were trying to compete with the bigger players at their game, which just wasn't the right business decision to make. But now we've found that smaller organizations, small to mid-size, the risk of paying a retainer just on a sales meeting is probably too much for their members to bear. So going to pay on success or on contingent success. It fits what they're doing, and I think it's fairer for a membership organization to do that. So we're having good success in that area now. And we're about to launch into the US as well. So there's a lot going on. Been a lot of change in the last 3 to 4 years, but we've got a good model. We work we have dedicated account managers, so people that specialize in each area. So we've got a finance specialist, somebody that specializes in marketing, somebody that specializes in sort of traditional membership roles, and so on and so forth. And so that means that we can give dedicated support, and we only work with our clients on an exclusive basis. So each role that comes in, we take as an individual sort of project, and we guarantee delivery in 2 weeks of a shortlist, which is quite competitive in the whole of recruitment, let alone just in membership. And that model's working for us, and we've got a lot of repeat business, and membership, we're really passionate about it, and it's been a great pleasure to be involved.
That's great. And Daniel, what type of roles are most common that you're recruiting for?
Yeah, so we do right across the board when it comes to any trade association, professional body or membership organisation we work with. We're able to recruit from their administrator level all the way up to board level and C-suite. So, and everything in between as well. So as Dennis said, we've niched within a niche, if that makes any sense. So firstly, we found a niche in working with membership organisations, but we've now realised that every membership organisation is different. But one thing that they do have in common is they do tend to have the same type of organisational structure or departments they need to be successful. So we have really reflected our output based on that, so that if you have a policy and public affairs requirement, whether that's officer level right up to head of to director level, what you need is, you don't just need somebody that understands membership, you need somebody that understands policy and public affairs. And we have that. So we have an expert that focuses in not just on working with trade associations and professional bodies, but also on policy and public affairs roles, because policy and public affairs is very different to education and training. Education and training is very different to finance and accountancy. So we've really looked to gain experts in those spaces, because that's important. So that when someone comes to Membership Bespoke and has a vacancy or has a need, or it's a candidate who's looking for work, they're speaking to somebody who's knowledgeable on 2 levels. They're knowledgeable about why it's great to work for a membership organisation and what a membership organisation can do for your career from a candidate point of view, but also is knowledgeable from a point of view of a skills-based approach to recruitment as well. So they know how to identify for our clients good policy and public affairs staff, and the same for each of those different department specialisms. And then on top of that, we recruit right across the board in terms of how you want to engage with that particular individual. So are you looking for somebody on a temporary basis, on a weekly timesheet? Are you looking for somebody on an interim basis, where you might be looking for somebody on a day rate who've got their own limited company contract? We also recruit for people on permanent. We recruit for people on fixed term contracts. So if it's a maternity cover, if it's somebody who's gone on secondment and you're looking to cover that secondment. And then in addition to that, we also then work on the search campaigns as well that we do. But we, as Dennis mentioned, we do that on a contingent basis, because we very much believe that paying these really high priced retainers is not the best thing for your members. Why should you have to pay something before you've seen any success? And our motto is no success, no fee. And we do that across everything that we do with our clients. Is we will show you what we do, and you can judge us on the candidates and the caliber of talent that we send you. And that's always been how we've worked. And we feel that's the fairest way to work with membership organisations. So that's this obligation free to work with us, and we know that the judgment is purely on who you meet for interview, who you select, for the different jobs you've got.
Interesting. I'm also quite fascinated to see whether there's a trend between, not just flexible working, but also, flexible roles. So somebody that you're not necessarily taking on. So an association might say, we need somebody higher level, but we don't need them all of the time. We might need like a fractional CMO or a fractional CEO. Dennis, do you think that's been a trend of late, and particularly maybe older CEOs that have perhaps done a bit of their career, they've moved on, and they look for almost semi-retirement, but they actually don't want to work 5 days a week. I certainly know friends in that sphere myself. What's your take?
I mean, there's been a definite move to flexibility across the board post-pandemic. So pre-pandemic, we were all the same, weren't we? It was 5 days in the office, and that was just how you worked, and you commuted every day, and people didn't really know about Teams or Zoom so much. I mean, there was Skype, but that had its own problems. And I remember myself, I was reluctant to get on the Teams calls initially. I didn't like it. I felt self-conscious. You could see yourself in the bottom corner of the screen, and it just was a whole different experience to actually going to see people. But then flexibility is now the norm. And that can be flexibility in terms of, how people work. So usually a couple of days at home, maybe 2 in the office, that kind of thing. And 1, out on the road or out seeing people. But the fractional model definitely works for the smaller organizations and sometimes larger. I mean, in any recruitment campaign, you kind of get what you pay for, right? So you're looking for very high level support or input into the strategic thinking of an organization. Sometimes you can't afford that person 5 days a week, but you still need that input. So if you look at what budget you have, sometimes it's better to have someone just 2 days a week, which uses up your budget because they bring a lot more to the table than someone at that level that you can recruit.
Absolutely.
So particularly in our interim work, Anna, who's the director of that department, she's very good at finding the right solution. So often that will include like a day and a half, maybe at a higher rate, but the budget is still intact. And more and more flexibility and also creativity and in solving problems is really refreshing. And you've seen a real evolution of that within the sector, particularly post-pandemic. Yeah.
And do you think, I'm always interested because obviously I've been a CEO of a trade association myself, and I came in to run an organization without any association experience. I'd come from the industry per se. I'd love to get your take on whether or not you take people from the industry as opposed to, because I think a lot of board people often like to feel that they've got people that have got industry experience, but they haven't necessarily got association experience. And I've actually seen people that have moved into running an association and actually can't stick with it. I even saw that within my own industry, where it just wasn't a good fit for somebody that followed me per se, but that doesn't mean to say that they were not a good candidate. They just weren't good. They just running associations wasn't for them. I just wondered what your take was on that.
So working in an association or in a trade association, membership body, or a membership scenario isn't for everyone. Some people get frustrated by the pace, and also some organizations need some cultural change to be able to adopt slightly more progressive working strategies, shall we say. Decision by committee is inherently slow, right? Because you've got to get all the stakeholders together. You need to make sure there's consensus of opinion. Often you have a board who work within the industry rather than in a membership setting. So their understandings of the limitations of a membership organization, particularly budget-wise, can be severely limited. And also, not everybody has the patience to be able to work with multiple stakeholders. So that we find is difficult.
I mean, as a CEO, Dan, it can be quite isolating actually, because you've got to feel like you're answerable to your board, you're answerable to your members, and you're answerable to your team as well to a degree. And I remember one of the reasons we created Membership World was in a way a safe space for executives to talk with each other, and that sort of peer-to-peer sharing. And I always say the role of a CEO and his chair is very, very important. If that breaks down, then there's a problem.
Completely. I mean, some of the best relationships, Gordon, that Dennis and I and the rest of the team have is with chief executives of associations, because for that exact reason, they like to have someone else that they can bounce off ideas off of. We
Exactly.
treat every conversation that we have with that level with the utmost discretion and confidentiality, but we feel very privileged and respected to have those conversations. So, for example, we run a very successful salary benchmarking service. So there'll be lots of times where chief executives are challenged by the raising, salaries that you're seeing, the different things that are happening in the market when it comes to salaries, that support is needed. Especially to be able to talk to their board and to be able to give evidence to their board of what's happening in the wider association market and how could they get that information. That's something they can talk to us about, because each day we're constantly talking to senior leaders, we're constantly talking to heads of departments, directors of departments, senior leadership team members, as well as chief executives, as well as trustees and chairs. So we're speaking to the whole breadth of people that are involved in those decisions and what's best for their association, what's best for their members, but what's best for their personnel as well. So there's a lot of factors to consider. So I completely understand from a chief executive point of view, where you've got those different stakeholders and they're all important. How do you juggle all of them and keep them happy? You need sometimes you do need that. You need someone for advice, someone that you can talk to just to sort of sound out to say, do you think this is the right way forward? Do you think this is the right thing to do? And sometimes the best person for that is someone from the outside. And that actually brings us right back to when we were talking about interims and about the fractional model. Why interims have worked so well for us, and we've been able to find some fantastic interims for our clients, is because they can come in from the outside and support a lot of that work that's happening. They can come in with a they're not coming in with any preconceived sort of ideas or anything. They can come in, and also what's fantastic about interims is they can bring that experience to the table. And it could come from industry. So there could be somebody that's worked in industry, that's worked in private sector, that can bring some of those private sector approaches and adopt them to improve an association's approach to things. Or it could be somebody that's worked for multiple different membership organisations who might not have the industry experience, but what they have is that breadth of experience of working for different types of membership organisations who have had different challenges and have been at different stages of the membership life cycle, or they've been at different stages of their transformation strategy. And as we know, particularly at the moment, there's so much going on that whole piece around transformation strategies because of technology. And the speed of technology, as you all know, Gordon, it's just so constant. It's how do you stay ahead of the curve in order for your revenue to continue. So it's a really interesting area.
Yeah. Do you think LinkedIn has been a competitor to the jobs sector at all?
I don't think really a competitor. The reason being is we use LinkedIn extensively, and LinkedIn has different levels of service. So an organization can go on and they can post an advert for free, but it doesn't get posted in the same way that an organization like us, who have a sizable investment and a 3-year strategy with LinkedIn and a 3-year investment that we've signed up to, which is several £100,000, even more in dollars. And organizations can't afford an advertising budget of that level. So we utilize the AI and the machine learning built into LinkedIn to help with our candidate attraction strategies, and also helping and using our knowledge to know where to place the adverts. So we utilize LinkedIn a lot, and it is taking over the recruitment space. I would say your traditional job board model is more and more pushed out to, well, not pushed out, but generalist job boards are becoming less popular. Niche ones are, so like the one on Membership World, which looks at a particular niche, which will have a select audience. That's still successful. But your big job boards like read.co.uk or Monster or Total Jobs, for example, which did all things to everyone or tried to, that is becoming an outdated concept now. We're noticing more and more. So our strategy is more aligned with our own job board, or where we post jobs on our own website, because we have a good following. And also on LinkedIn, we've got nearly 70,000 followers. So then that's a lot of eyes on each job that gets posted. And it's taken us, a fantastic marketing director, Maura. Shouts out to Maura. She has transformed our LinkedIn presence, and it's highly effective, but it takes a big investment. It's very expensive. And that's why your average membership organization wouldn't be able to spend money at that level just to attract staff. In fact, there's probably economies to use a recruitment partner, because we've had to invest because we have to stay competitive.
I think, and just to add to what Dennis is saying, Gordon, about LinkedIn, is one of the things that I think what's happened. There's been a real shift in, as Dennis said, about job boards to LinkedIn. And what LinkedIn has done is, if you are somebody who's looking for work, it's easier to apply, to say that you're open to work, to engage with the audience of looking for work on LinkedIn than it was the job boards, because you're already on LinkedIn. Whereas before you would have to register to be on Read, or register to be on Monster, to register to be on JobSite or Indeed. Whereas with LinkedIn, you're already on there. And one of the biggest challenges that we found, particularly in 2024 into 2025, is the volume that membership organisations have to deal with. So if they are looking to recruit a role themselves, they soon realise the volume is just we're talking about tenfold on what they used to maybe get for an app, and it's about how do they deal with that. And one of the things that we always do to help membership organisations is time, because as well as they might be recruiting a role, they've also got their own day job to be doing. So how do they balance the work they've currently got? It's chicken and egg, isn't it? With the fact that they do need that support. So we can help take away that problem they have in terms of time, because we are adept at then being able to do that volume management, because that is one of the key things for certain roles. I mean, actually for most roles, even from your junior roles right up to your senior roles, the volume, because now of the future, which is very much focused around LinkedIn, but also our own database and our own website and things like that, the way the traffic comes through has changed. And it's how do you manage that traffic? And it's how do you do that? Because the one thing what can happen with volume is you can miss things, and that's what you don't want to do, because that could be missing the best candidate for the job.
Of course.
And so you have to be systematic, and you have to have a real methodology to how you deal with that volume.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's sort of finish on benefits, because obviously salary is one component. I'd love to get your thoughts around a 4-day week, and indeed whether or not healthcare and wellness programs, or what other sorts of benefits are you seeing as a trend that are being offered or requested? Dennis.
So I run the salary benchmarking service that we offer, that Daniel mentioned previously. So what I do is I do a bespoke consultancy for organisations, which includes looking at all of their staff members and looking at where their compensation lies, which includes their base salaries, also any bonus or variable element, and the benefits that they receive. So it means that I get a real deep dive and a privileged look at many different organisations in a very discrete manner. But it means that I've got a good idea from the research that we do for the salary guide, which I'm sure we'll be able to get a link come up either after this or during the podcast. And so we have a lot of data sets. So we're really in a good position to be able to look at the market. We study adverts that aren't necessarily from us, and so we know where salaries are going. And we've been doing the salary guide now for about 12 years. So there's a whole mass of data that we can rely on. Flexibility is the key, I think, within membership. And very often money isn't the only way to retain people, right? Before the pandemic and before the inflation that we've noticed as a society, and probably globally, money wasn't necessarily the main driver for people that worked in membership organizations. They chose to work in membership organizations because of the subject matter, because the not-for-profit nature sat better on their moral compasses, and also that they enjoyed the collaborative kind of representing members and enhancing that perception of value of members, making sure that members knew what they were paying for, why they were paying for it, and getting the most value out of their membership. Then unfortunately inflation came in and everyone had to be more money orientated because we all needed to meet the bottom line of our domestic sort of requirements. So flexible benefits is something that is more and more common. So people being able to pick what is best for them. So we're noticing that more and more. So some people, childcare might be something that incentivizes them. So childcare vouchers. You've also got things like gym memberships, which some people might prefer, or access to flexible working spaces, for example. You've got other international organizations that we work with that offer enhanced travel benefits. So you can get an upgrade to have a better seat on the plane if you're always traveling, or expense cards that people can use whilst when they're away.
Salary sacrifice
as well. Some people are pension minded, some people aren't. So again, people being able to pick and choose is more and more common. And also the ability, some of organizations are even more progressive in their thinking, and the 9-day fortnight is something that's come in. So condensing your work to have that second Friday off. And other organizations are arranging their working patterns around the needs of their individuals. I think as people are working more remotely, there's less eyes on what everyone's doing. So as long as they're delivering, you get sort of more forward-thinking CEOs or membership sort of management teams who are allowing people to work flexibly. I guess when we were all sat in an office together, if someone just got up and left on a Thursday, you'd be like, oh, where are they going? But now no one can see anyone, right? So as long as you're beating your deadlines, it really shouldn't matter when they're doing it. And I know us as a company have adopted that type of approach. And as long as the work's getting done and people's lives are complementing their work, you get a happier staff, better retention, and hopefully better results.
Yeah, amazing. Great. Well, thank you both for joining us on the Membership World podcast today. I'm really delighted that you're a vetted partner to us as well. And we too are looking at expanding into the United States. So it's going to be a fruitful partnership. Thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, Gordon. Really looking forward to working together. Thanks.
Thanks, Gordon.